plans derailed a little bit. Right now, you can see it's dark out. It's 6:30 in the morning. I'm still here in Mesa, Arizona. I had to leave my beautiful spot in Bulldog Canyon, where Kismet and I were literally walking with God in the wilderness, and I was doing a lot of journal review. And a couple days ago, it was determined that my dad had to go to the hospital again. This is the fourth time in 6 weeks that my dad has had some sort of a medical crisis that has caused him to need to go to get medical attention. Started out with anemia and swelling and inability to function or stand on his own. Anyway, so I saw that we have to take pretty significant measures now on power of attorney, medical power of attorney, legal power of attorney, financial power of attorney. But anyways, I packed up my camp and I'm sitting in front of my friend's ranch right now, just waiting for sunlight so that I can make my way back to home base because my trailer is my home and where I live, wherever it's parked. So I'm taking my trailer back to Temecula so that I can make these decisions. So while these phone calls were going on, this was just a couple of days ago, I am standing in my kitchen at the counter, just leaning over my phone and making the phone calls necessary, to my mom, to the caregiver, to the hospital, to the caregiver at the facility, just to get a handle on what's happening and what needs to be done. Meanwhile, I had just brought him in from taking him to do his business, wasn't really focused on him, and he shoot up my kitchen cabinet. He was sitting right next to me, and I had no idea because I was hyper-focused on some crisis management. I'm realizing that he's playing off of my energies, and so he was a little nervous. So no, I didn't get mad at him, but now I've got some RV repairs to do because a couple days before that, the glass top for my stove shattered, and it's tempered glass, so it's like a car window, it's like little pieces of glass everywhere. That was quite an experience cleaning up. So I've had some negative energies coming at me for a week now. While I'm in the wilderness peacefully, prayerfully walking with God. It's been a very interesting experience. Now, my dad's not dying right now, so I'm not, oh my God mode. I am in, but I got to manage a new medical development. So I'm having to make some pretty tough decisions on my own, and I'm having to rely on outside sources, non-family members, to help me make these wise decisions. I'm trying not to play on my emotions. Sure, of course, the whole goal was to keep mom and dad together. But the notion also was that mom was capable of caring for dad, and she's not. She's got her own stuff going on that she's barely able to manage. So my plans have been derailed, but it's also nice to have the flexibility to be able to just pull up stakes and be able to go. I'm leaving as soon as it gets light, which is starting to occur. But once I get there, unhitch the trailer, manage the dog, set up the trailer so that I can leave the dog, unfortunately for him, in the crate so I can go straight to the hospital and check on my dad and get some more information. But yesterday's phone calls were basically talking to the case manager and nurses at the hospital. I talked to my dad, which really made me cry. I'm not going to minimize that. Listening to him for 10 minutes, just jabber on, so confused. Talking about phones that don't work and phone numbers. And at one point he said, take him to Brad. And that was really painful because my brother Brad is dead and died 8 years ago. So what was that all about? Just very confused and I'm just listening to him and just not being impatient, just listening to him to go and just tearfully crying. This is the end of my therapy day. And that's what I was contending with. And there's a lot of moving parts that I need to deal with and I can't do it remotely. I want to be present for it. When I was interning, before I became a licensed psychotherapist, and my internship, my first one was at a hospice agency. So I do know how they operate. So I wasn't really afraid when they mentioned hospice for my dad, because it doesn't necessarily mean that they're dying tomorrow. It just is a way for them to be home and have the medical care that they need. I spent a year working in a hospice agency as a bereavement coordinator, a grief counselor, and paid attention to the interdisciplinary actions and involvement of all of the different departments that take care of a patient. But mine was mostly primarily working with the family as a pre-bereavement. Your loved one is dying. And not only did I experience it firsthand, but I've read about it, learned about it, studied on it, that dysfunctional families, when there's crisis and tragedy, the level of dysfunction actually raises. And now I'm seeing it firsthand that people may not show up for stuff. And since I'm the only daughter, falling onto me. And not that I'm doing it unwillingly, not that I'm doing it begrudgingly. These are my parents, and it's part of the process. It would be nice to have some family that would take some of the burden off, or at least show and demonstrate some support. There's no doubt about it. This is a early morning pre-dawn confession of how I'm feeling about this. A bit of anxiety as I make this trip. I always, every time I get into the truck and the trailer is behind me hitched up, I pray. I keep us safe, put your angels of protections around us, and so far so good. So today I'm praying the same, but I'm also having to pray that my anxiety doesn't get the best of me, because as I head home, anxiety seems to surface and grow in me. So I will also have to have my phone on do not disturb so I don't see texts or phone calls that come in while I'm driving, because I need my 100% focus on safety as we travel. I have such a mixture of emotions. I can't even put a label on it. There's a bit of grief. There's a lot of sadness. There's nothing joyful about where I'm going or what I'm doing at all. But I'm in God's grace.